Welcome to the LDHR podcast, the place to learn, explore, develop, and connect so that we and those we lead are known, needed, and have a future. In this series, we're exploring our member care model and discovering what it looks like to live out and lead through master care, self-care, team care, and movement care. We will hear from people all over the world how they're living this out and how we can learn from them. Come on in and listen. We're so glad you're here. Hi, Christine. Welcome to the LDHR podcast. I'm so glad you're able to join me today. But before we begin, can you tell us a little bit about your current role and where you are serving?
Yeah, it's good to be here. My current role is that I'm a team leader at Indiana University in Indiana. And I've been here for the last 5 years in that role. And before that, I actually originally joined staff to serve overseas in East Asia. So I was there for 9 years. And I think about half of that time, I think 5 or 6 years, I was the team leader there as well.
That's great. Well, welcome. So far on the podcast, we've taken a look at the master care and self-care components of our member care model. And today we're shifting gears. We're kind of focusing in on team care, recognizing that the team leader is the primary player in team care. So, Christine, how do you define team care?
Yeah. I think when I hear team care, I think, okay, as the team leader, as the person in charge leading here, how can I shepherd and care for the people on this team? But also, I think part of that I've learned is not just like, how can I do that, but how can I also resource them to receive care in ways that maybe I can't do that? And also, how can I cultivate an environment of care, I would say, like on a team? So I think I've learned a lot about making sure it's not just me doing all the care, but kind of figuring out like, okay, how can I care for people, but also how can we invite other people in to do that too?
Yeah, that's great. I love that word, shepherding, where you are providing care, but you're also figuring out maybe if I can't meet it, how can I help you have access to that? That's great.
Mhm.
So, what is your role as a team leader when it comes to providing care for your team?
Yeah, I think our jobs, I feel like I talk about this a lot. Our jobs are really unique as a team leader. Like we're asked to help lead a team strategically and making sure we're reaching our scope. But also, again, yeah, we're asked to like shepherd and care for our team. And so I think when I think about it is like, okay, how can I spend some of my time in my role in my job to help care for people? And again, I think knowing I can't be the only person to do that. So how can the rest of the team care for the team? And how can I make sure I know the proper places to go when I need more help in that too? So I think it's just been helpful for me to remember I am asked to lead strategically, but I'm also asked to lead and shepherd, and making sure I'm keeping that a part of my focus too.
Yeah, that's great. Holding those two things, I think, in balance or maybe even intention of, yeah, leading strategically, accomplishing this mission, but also realizing these people, I'm called to care for them too. So,
Mhm.
how do you intentionally cultivate an environment where team members feel supported and encouraged by each other?
Yeah, I think a big thing that I've done on most every team I've been on is just making sure we're having like what we call team norms. So in the beginning of the year, just taking time to talk through, okay, how are we going to treat each other? How are we going to work together? What do we expect? I think it helps us kind of get to thinking about these questions more, helps us understand each other's values in a team. And how are we going to know those and respect them, but also how to come alongside each other just in these things as they come up. So I think learning how to create this safe space through these norms, I think has been a big thing. I always say this on a team. And one of my values, I think, too, is just having fun together. And I think that is another way to help just cultivate an environment where there's just support and encouragement. And I think, yeah, it's just been important to me to kind of try to figure out ways to incorporate that and doing different kinds of fun activities together too. And I think the last thing is just continuing to grow in vulnerability and leading out of my weakness to just try to invite that other people can also be in that same space too.
Yeah. That's really helpful. So, yeah, those team norms, even just discussing it at the beginning of a year or when you have a new team to see what's important, how do we want to treat each other. I love that you include fun, how important that is to laugh, to enjoy time together. And then vulnerability you mentioned as well. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? What role does vulnerability play in the culture of your team and how do you create a space where team members really feel comfortable being open and supported?
Yeah, I think this one is important. I've learned over the years. I actually wouldn't say I'm naturally the most vulnerable person, to be honest. I think it's something that as I've seen it kind of come up in different teams, it's been helpful to know like I could grow in this and that would help cultivate an environment of vulnerability on our team. So I think I've tried to grow in it over the years. Even in vulnerability, you could share a lot of things, right? So it's okay. You don't want to share everything, but what would be an appropriate vulnerable thing to share right now to my team? What would be helpful for them to know is like in what I'm experiencing or what's going on with me. How can I lead out of that like kind of weakness or just thing I'm sharing. So I think for me to be vulnerable and grow in that has been helpful. But then I think too, just inviting other people into that space. And so giving the team an opportunity just to share, especially if we've walked through harder seasons as teams, like how can we provide a space for people to tell the team, like, this is how I'm doing, this is how I'm experiencing ministry in life right now. And this is how you can pray for me. So I think that's just been important too, to invite people into vulnerability if they feel comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really, what stood out to me is that you said you may not be naturally be the most, gifted being vulnerable with one another, but you realize it is really helpful and you do want to have that connection with people. And so it's a skill that you can learn. And I think that's encouraging for me that it's not necessarily an inherent trait that a leader has, but it really can be a skill that we can grow in as leaders. So, what are some simple kind of everyday actions or habits you've developed to care for your team and show them they're valued?
Yeah, this is good. I think one thing that we've kind of talked about on the team the last couple of years is just encouraging rest and taking time off. We have vacation time. So just helping people see like you're working hard, you're doing a lot, you're taking on a lot. It's okay to rest. And it's okay to take the time to just be. And so I think encouraging that on our team has been really helpful. And I've like slowly started to see that come about or people start to use their days more, which I think has been really cool and good. I think just little check-ins, I would say, with people on my team. It can be as simple as a text, but it also could be like a quick phone call, like after a staff meeting, maybe just calling someone and saying, hey, like I noticed during staff meeting, you were quiet or you seemed like something is going on or you seemed a little anxious or worried. Like, is everything okay? And I think just like asking, like in those moments, and I think another one with that sometimes is like you'll have people kind of pop in and out if they're not feeling well. Someone might not be at something. And so I just a follow up afterward, like, hey, how are you feeling? You weren't there this morning. We missed you. Is there anything, that would be helpful for you right now? Yeah, I would say like those are some thoughts I have about that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And some really practical tips in there too of like really just following up with people, not just letting things pass by about,
Mhm.
but seeing that you notice that maybe they were acting differently or anything and following up with that. I think that really goes a long way instead of,
Mhm.
yeah, just assuming whatever about a situation that you really are intentional. And that really shows them that you do care because you are willing to engage and follow up with them. So, how have you handled or navigated some tough situations, such as when a team member is struggling or while still maintaining the overall health and goals of the team?
Yeah, I think this is where I've had to learn how to ask for help. I would say in my younger, like when I first started being a team leader, I definitely like just felt like I had to do all of this. I'm the team leader. I'm in charge. I have to care for all this and do all these things. I think that was leading to a road of burnout for me, to be honest. Yeah, as I've grown a little bit in understanding my role, it's been helpful to know, hey, we are a resource to team leaders. We have resources within our organization, within our churches, and yeah, other places outside of this team. And so I think just like knowing what resources are in place, whether it's organizational or not, has helped a lot and helped me be able to come alongside a team member while also caring for the whole of the team and our students and all the other things that are being asked of us as team leaders.
Yeah. That's so important and so helpful of realizing that you do have a community to draw on to ask for that help. And so that you can rely on that. And I think that ties back even into that vulnerability piece too of like, it doesn't always all fall on you. You don't have to do it all. You don't have to have all the right answers for every situation. But
Yeah.
yeah, having that network for you to draw upon is helpful for your team and for you. So, how do you manage that responsibility of being both a leader and providing care, especially when you're dealing maybe with your own challenges?
Yeah. For me, I've just tried to model rest. I think there was a couple years ago that kind of our whole team was having a lot was going on. We were doing well as a team, but just a lot of personal things that were hard happening. And I remember I got to like a Thursday night, which Thursday is our weekly meeting night. And I was like, I feel exhausted. And I don't know if I have a lot left in me to go to this meeting tonight. I didn't have any responsibilities after the meeting. I just needed to be there. But I thought, hey, could I just take a night off and have a minute? And so I like texted, my co-leader and just checked in. And just modeling that was actually really good for me and my team to see like, hey, this is a season where we're going through a lot. And it's okay if we need to take a step back for a second and just stay home for a night. And so that has been helpful to kind of recognize what's going on, what I'm experiencing, what's going on internally for me. Yeah, being able to model that to my team. And I think too, just knowing like if I'm caring for all of these people, that's a lot, especially when I'm going through something myself. And so, who are people in my life that I can connect with more regularly to help care for me and encourage me as I'm like caring for other people? And so, I just remember during that same season, just reaching out to friends in town, being like, hey, there's just a lot going on. I would love prayer and just, whatever the Spirit leads in that. And I remember right after that, a friend texted me and was like, I'm bringing you dinner tomorrow. And that was like such an encouragement too. So I think just like knowing when to ask for help and to bring other people into that as you're caring for other people.
Yeah, that's so great. Yeah, involving other people, modeling, maybe even some self care of you taking care of yourself promotes that care overall on your team. And then just realizing that you don't have to shoulder everything. And then for you to have those people that you can turn to care for you. And what a blessing for them to bring you dinner. That's so sweet. In a time. Yeah, when you're struggling and you reach out and someone responds in that way. That's great. So, what impact have you seen on your team and its relationships as a result of prioritizing care and mutual support?
hmm I think part of why I value fun and all that is I think when our relationship with each other are just good in general, we're going to work better together as well. And so I think if you're able to cultivate fun environment, a caring environment, a vulnerable, all these things that we've talked about, I think your team's just going to function better as a whole and be able to work well together. That's something I've seen, I would say, even on multiple teams over the years, is that if relationships are good, then I think, you're just going to do better together in general. So I feel like that's kind of why that's always kind of been one of my values as I've led.
Yeah, that's really great. Yeah, having that fun aspect is really part of building that team culture, building that relationship. And a lot can flow from that in a really positive way. That's great. So, for those listening, wanting to maybe grow in this area, what's kind of one piece of advice, one small step you think they could do right now to kind of develop habits or practices that really foster this type of culture and mutual care on their teams? What would you say to them?
I think just learning to be open handed and flexible. I would say, again, we are tasked with leading strategically, right? And if we want to see people know Jesus and we want to see our movements grow. But I think learning when is it okay to just kind of take a step in this way and shift a little bit and just care for these people. So I think learning when to lead, when to kind of take a break and focus on care more than strategy, I think has been super helpful in the seasons that I walked through on various teams that have been hard. Sometimes it's hard to know. Maybe you don't have like a good pulse on your team on how people are doing, just kind of that maybe more intuitive thing that some people have and some people don't. I think that's fine. I think maybe you could ask someone on your team who does have a skill like that could help the team leader kind of think through what does our team need right now? I think it's okay if you don't know that as the leader, but like, is there someone that could kind of step in with you and help you figure that out? And then kind of learning how to shift in that, I would say, is been pretty helpful just over the years.
Yeah. That's really helpful. I like that piece, that flexibility of kind of like, when am I leaning into this area, or when am I needing to lead into care? And I love that idea too, that if this doesn't come naturally to you, that's okay. Find that person on your team who it does come naturally to, and partner with them, work with them to care for your team at the right time and what they need. I think that's a really great place to wrap up, and a really good step for people to take who are wanting to grow in this area. So, Christine, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your wisdom and sharing with us today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. This is really fun.
Thanks for listening today. What a great and practical way to hear from Christine about the important role a team leader has in caring for their team. I was encouraged by the reminder that the skills a team leader needs to care for their team well can be grown and developed, as well as the need to hold that tension between the mission and people. If you found this episode or series helpful, please share it with a friend. It really helps us reach more people, and we'd be so grateful. You won't want to miss next week as we hear from Cecilia in Nigeria, helping guide us in team care through the one another commands Jesus gives us. See you next week.